At least I'm trying, you know what I mean? I'm going to try something new. What if? What if it takes off? What if it creates new opportunities? What if? And then all these like positive what ifs came into my mind instead of the negative what ifs. Hi, ladies, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to talk about the urge to pivot in your late 30s. Actually, I'm going to bring this up because I recently started a new job. So I had the urge to pivot my career. And I seen somewhere this week, I don't know which article it was, seeing that a lot of people, women, men in their late 30s tend to pivot careers in their late 30s. And I always felt like I was behind. I felt very stagnant, I guess. And in January, one of my girlfriends had started this women's group, and we meet every Sunday night and we talk about our goals. I had mentioned in the group that I wanted to shift careers. So I was in my previous job in the field itself for 14 years, and I had been working in the same department in my company for 7 years, going on 8 years this year. And I was starting to hate my job. And I would wake up some mornings and I would have the urge to just quit because I absolutely hated the job I was in. I didn't like the field. I didn't like that I felt stuck. I was working from home. That's really the only thing that was keeping me in this particular job. So back in 2020, when everything had shut down due to COVID-19, I started working from home, which was great because I had a 5-year-old, Simone, starting school, and I had Natalia. So with Simone, we were paying for after school care and daycare. Like most of us now, or once upon a time we had young kids, we're living paycheck to paycheck. And I see a lot of people that work, let's say, in big law, and I never really understood this before. And I remember I was like, that is the craziest thing, because I'm thinking she was making so much money, and I couldn't fathom my mind around being unhappy when you're making money. And I remember having a conversation with my aunt, who was a very smart woman. She's the VP of finance at a very international and massive company. And I remember having a conversation with her probably about 4 years ago when I was like, I'm so unhappy. And she's like, you need to get a new job. And I was like, yeah, but I work from home. And I was like, I can't. I don't want to have to commute to work. I don't want to have to pay for daycare. There were just all these things I didn't want to have to do. I felt like I was kind of having like a mental breakdown in January, and I just felt like super overwhelmed. That's when I started really diving into journaling. I started getting up because I'm like, I need to shift my way of thinking so I can make things happen in my life. I need to manifest. Is the first thing that came to my mind. I'm like, I know I can make anything in my life happen, good or bad. And I started listening to the Mel Robbins podcasts on this trail. So up in our area, there's like this hike and whatever. And I would do this hike, rain or shine. Every day I would go out lunchtime and walk this trail. And I would pray, like, you know what I mean? Just meditate. And I was like, I just need to get a new job. And then sure enough, like it happened really, I would say very quickly of me saying that. I ended up getting an internal position in my company. Now, the internal position I did get, the position I work in now, I feel like there is tons of potential to grow because a lot of the people that I work with are older, getting ready to retire soon, but more job opportunities in my current department. And I think a lot of the times the reason why we feel the need to pivot is from burnout. I was feeling burnt out from being a mom, being married, but kind of still being a single mom because my husband does work away a lot, and life was lifing. And I think sometimes life hands us unexpected things, and we don't know what our higher power, God, is trying to tell us. I think the reason I was really comfortable with being uncomfortable in my last job and being unhappy was because growing up, we seen our parents stay in these positions where they're not happy, but they stay there because they've seen their parents struggle, right? So it was all of these things going through my mind where I was like, I just didn't want to be, and I love my mom, but I think a lot of the times, like there were times where my mom didn't take the steps she should have taken because fear was holding her back. And I was like, I don't want to be in the same job in 10 years and think, what if? I think about that now because I remember back when Natalia was a baby, I really wanted to start a YouTube channel, and I did it. And I still have all of these what ifs in my head. What if I took off? What if I wasn't so scared? And I was talking to my friend about it, the one that has the women's group, and I was like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, but you got to remember though, you were taking care of kids. She's like, and then you started to build your house. And like, you know what I mean? Like there were things that you were doing that took priority over possibly having a channel, right? So she's like, I don't think you should question what if it just wasn't the time. It wasn't the place or time for you to start your YouTube channel back then. And I've learned to accept that. I think the reason too a lot of us don't pivot is, like I said previously, like we're scared to fail. Growing is uncomfortable. Think about a baby when they're teething and they can't communicate and they're uncomfortable and they're growing and it's growing pains and there's all these things, right? Eventually, you've either learned something from it or you're in a better position. That's what growth, I think, is. But I remember years ago, again, my aunt was telling me, she's like, you should find a job that you love. That way, going to work every day excites you. You're excited to get up. You're excited to learn something new. And I didn't understand that because I was like, well, I don't know what my hobbies are. I couldn't figure it out. And I remember this would have been like 12 or 13 years ago. My husband got another job. So I had quit a job, but then he went back to his old job. So I didn't have a job for like the whole summer, basically. And I was going to start my YouTube channel then, but I got scared. Like you freak yourself out and you're like, oh, but what if like people from my past, people from back home see me and they're going to make fun of me. And then I got to the point where I was like, I don't care who sees me. At least I'm trying. You know what I mean? I'm going to try something new. What if it takes off? What if it creates new opportunities? What if? And then all these like positive what ifs came into my mind instead of the negative what ifs. I think ways to know if you're on the right path is it feels right even when it may seem scary. You go with that gut feeling, this is scary because it's something new, but I feel like this is right. It's checking all the boxes for me. It's making me or putting me in my happy, warm place. That's getting me excited about a challenge every day or learning something new or getting excited to get up and see what the day holds. You're waking up curious again, I think, is another one. And I think the third one is you're feeling more aligned with your values, for sure. Another thing is to think of a seed. All the roots are growing underneath. No one else can see them. My friend Tina, she sews and she's like this master seamstress, like working with movie sets and all that stuff. But it's something that, again, we were talking the other week and she was like, I was so scared to put myself out there. And now, like, she's reaping the rewards of how good she is. And even though she's been sewing her whole life, she still second guessed herself. I think something really important too is don't quit because you can't see the instant gratification. You can't see those instant wins because at the end of the day, you're becoming. I have a girlfriend that's starting a company from the ground up, and there was on our call we were having, and she was talking about how there was a step, and she's like, I don't know how to figure this out. And she's like, it's going to cost me like, let's say $3,000 to get whoever, this other company to come in and figure this out for me. But she's like, I don't have the $3,000 currently to pay for this. And she's like, this is something I'm gonna have to figure out. And I phoned her back the next day and she had figured it out. I think it's just really important that we continue to celebrate our wins, whether they're big or small. On this call I have with these ladies every week, we talk about what our weekly goals are. And a lot of the women on the group, their goal is for weight loss. And even though we're not holding anyone accountable, if you don't meet your goal or your expectation for the week, it's almost just like it's holding yourself accountable. And I brought that up the other week and I was like, I know that if we don't make our goal, no one's going to be like, oh, well, you said you were going to do this. It's not like that. It's okay. I know I didn't do it, but next week I'm going to do it. So I can come back to the group and say, I did it. It's about holding yourself accountable. I think a lot of the times, like when we do achieve those goals, it's a sign that you're not stuck and you're shifting. Again, shifting, growing, it's very uncomfortable when you first start to do it. But then once you do it, it's like, damn, that wasn't so hard. I wish I would have did this sooner. I hope this video helped someone that is in their late 30s, early 40s, whatever age you're in, and you're feeling stuck. This is something we all go through at some point in our lives. And I remember even talking to my husband and I was like, I think I'm going through a midlife crisis because I just felt this urge to like apply to that new job, to start my YouTube channel, to create content. And I was like, I even think of like certain content creators, and they may not be big, but YouTube has made so many other options, possibilities, opened up so many other doors for them. And I think it's just so important. Like, I'm not saying to start a YouTube channel, but I think it's important that you do something that you're passionate about, even if it's just a hobby. There was a video I seen on TikTok last night, and it was about a young lady, and she had this idea to have a soda enhanced protein drink or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, soda with protein in it. And she's like, she got out of university and she was offered a job at like Louis Vuitton or something, and she didn't take it. And her parents were like, what the hell do you mean you're not taking this job? Like, this is the perfect opportunity for you to get experience and network and meet other people and grow in a company. And she was like, I just felt like it wasn't for me. So Selfridges ended up reaching out to her because they seen her drink and they were interested in it, and they wanted to buy it. And sure enough, she was like, I asked my boyfriend to create the logo. I asked my mama, who's a scientist, to help me create the drink. I asked my dad to help build me like a display, and I went to ChatGPT and I asked it like how to market, basically. And it's like anything is possible, because now I'm sure she's like a millionaire. Look at even the ladies that owned, or I don't know if it's one lady or ladies that own Poppy, and they sold it to Pepsi for, or one of them, Coca-Cola, whatever they sold it to, for millions of dollars. If you, again, like to see more videos like this, please comment down below, give me a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.